Hey everybody, Howard Jacobson here. Well Start Health, Sick to Fit, Plant Yourself. See how good I am at doing that? Got all three the very first time. Quick announcement, Josh Lajani and I are hosting our first retreat. We don't have a better name for it yet. The health retreat, the Josh and Howie retreat, the Sick to Fit retreat, the Well Start retreat, the Plant Yourself retreat. You choose. It's a small number of people gathering in North Carolina near my home, and it's a beautiful rural spot. We'll have probably 10 to 16 people. 16 will be the absolute maximum, so everybody gets personal attention, small group interactions, great food. It's going to be kind of a weekend of exploration and transformation. Like we're really going to make this something where you come away from it different in some important way that then iterates into your life. So it's not like a thing like you have this high and then you come home and slowly or quickly it kind of erodes to the point where you can't even remember having been, if you didn't take some pictures. This is one of those attempts at an intervention that will create slight, or maybe not so slight, but iterative shifts, like a different way of looking at the world, so that everything that happens from here on out is different. It begins to transform and it snowballs. So it'll be November 14th through 17th. That's the first one we're going to do. That's a Thursday to Sunday. You can arrive Thursday anytime. We'll have a little gathering Thursday night, but then Friday and Saturday and half of Sunday, we will be seriously working, playing, laughing, eating, moving, coaching, transforming together. So if you're interested in that, I almost have a webpage up about it. I sent out an email to everyone who's on the Sick to Fit list and who's on my Plant Yourself list. So I will be posting more, and we're asking especially for people whom I don't know. We're going to need an interview process. If I do know you, we can just turn that into a formality. But we want to make sure this is a great fit for everyone. So today I want to talk about it's not your fault. And I learned this phrase a long time ago when I was not doing health, when I was just doing marketing, direct marketing. And every marketer, every copywriter said, you've got to tell people that before you sell to them, it's not their fault, right? Because it's, first of all, it's kind of true. Like whatever difficulties you're having, whatever bad results you're getting, if you knew how to get, I'm going to take these out. If you knew how to get better results, then you would, right? If you knew how to make more money, you would. If you knew how to lose weight, you would. If you knew how to say no to candy bars and donuts and pretzels, you would. So at some level, it is true, like it's not your fault. And then the corollary for marketing is, and now that you know the truth, now that I can teach you the truth, and if you don't, buy from me and change, it will be your fault. So that's not the kind of it's not your fault I'm talking about. Instead, I want to kind of contrast the cognitive model of behavior, which is a very useful, valuable tool. So cognitive behavioral therapy, rational, affective, emotive therapy, all of those in that whole Albert Ellis, Aaron Beck, late 20th century, early 21st century cognitive therapy. They are great tools and they have their place. However, the problem with them is it's like if you teach those, it's like teaching driving, like a driver's ed class, and you teach people in the classroom and they never get in a car, then that teaching is not only wasted, it actually starts getting frustrating. And so the cognitive model is basically that everything we do because we decide to do it. Right? So this is the rational actor theory, the health belief model, everything I learned in graduate school about why people do behaviors that they do. It's because you choose to do it. So I saw a hilarious post, meme on the Missing Chins site today, where someone was like, "Reasons I can't lose weight," and the top one, the only one that isn't crossed out. Well, the other ones are like carbs and glutens and strange extraplanetary forces and fake excuses. But the only one that was not crossed out was like, "I'm eating like an effing a-hole." And it's hilarious and absolutely gets to an essential truth. Like, if you aren't getting where you want to go, it's because you're not doing the things that you need to do to get you there. However, the idea that it's always a matter of rational choice isn't true. And because it's not true, it can be extremely disempowering. And tell me if this is your experience, that have you ever tried to go on a diet or start an exercise program or start journaling or start meditating or making your bed in the morning or anything, or Marie Kondoing your sock drawer, anything that you want to do that you think is supposed to make you a better person, and you do it for a little while and then you fall off? Or you keep reading about it and you keep meaning to do it and you keep buying self-help books about it and you never do it. Do you feel guilty about that? Do you feel bad about yourself? Do you feel like there's something wrong with you, like you're lacking in some important quality? Do you feel like you don't deserve good things because you're not doing the things to get you good things? So this is a very common state of affairs. It was certainly one that I labored under and still labor under. I haven't excavated nearly every dysfunctional thought pattern in my soul. But when we bring these views and attitudes with us to the next change we want to make, okay, I just discovered whole food plant-based eating, I really want to do that. And then we realize, well, but look at all the other times I failed. Right? And we think, well, it's just going to be the same thing all over again. It's going to be my fault. So what I mean by this, this is the bias that we have inherited from our culture. That this is a cognitive game. You decide to do it, and you do it. And if you don't do it, it's because you didn't really decide to do it. So these behaviors are voluntary. There's another model, which I guess has been explored most fully and scientifically and mapped out by Dr. Stephen Porges, who wrote a book called The Polyvagal Theory. And I'm reading his book, The Pocket Guide to the Polyvagal Theory, which is sort of conversations about it, which is more of a layperson's approach to the theory. And I will say, now at 315 pages, you will need a big-ass pocket to give this book its accurate name. That said, it is a fascinating read. And one of the things that he points out is that when our bodies do not feel safe, they take actions that we have no control over, that we don't want to do, that we don't intend to do, that we may not even be aware of doing. So that when we feel unsafe, we are not capable of acting in our rational self-interest. And by safe, he's talking in a very elemental way about like the organism. Like think about every organism from snakes to turtles to rats to mice to gorillas to cats to dogs to humans. Like the prime directive of every organism before everything else is don't get killed. It's, if you remember Andy Breckman, I think he wrote a bunch of stuff for Saturday Night Live. He's a comedian and a musician. He also wrote the screenplay for Rat Race, one of the great movies of all time. And he has this song called Don't Get Killed. And you should listen to it because it's very, very funny. And the premise of the song is exactly what I'm saying. Like the fundamental thing, the prime directive here is don't get killed. You know, in Star Trek, there it is. don't interfere with another civilization. On this planet, it's don't get killed. And so how do we know when we might be getting killed? So it depends on our neurology, what Porges calls our neuroception. He says it's different from perception. Perception is me being aware of what's going on and making decisions. Oh, there's a large creature coming at me. I better kind of turn, get into a little bit of a defensive stance. Oh, it's my cousin Bill. He's cool. I can relax. Right? So we can use our awareness of our perceptions to make certain decisions. Now, neuroception operates without awareness. So one example is low frequency sounds. So the human ear has a trade-off. We can either listen for the sound of the human voice, which typically is higher, a higher pitch than things like fans rumbling, air conditioner systems, heavy machinery, airplane engines, cars and trucks, construction equipment. Those tend to be lower sounds. And through evolution, we have learned that higher sounds, especially female sounding sounds, are motherly. They have a melody to them. They go up and down, loud and soft, quick and slow. And they're interesting, and they signal safety. No one is going to say, hey, everybody, we're being attacked by the monsters right now. Right now, hey, we're being attacked by the monsters. Right? A very different kind of prosody of vocalization. So it turns out there's a trade-off in the human ear functionality, which is if we tighten up certain middle ear muscles, the eardrum becomes very tight and drum-like, and it repels a lot of the low frequency sounds. So we are worse at detecting predators, right? Because that's the ultimate low frequency sound is right before it bites you in the ass. So we are programmed to respond defensively when we hear a predator. And defensively could mean fight or flight, or if the danger is too imminent and we can't run away, or we're trapped, or we've been injured, it's fold, play dead, right? Got a chance of surviving. And again, this is not voluntary. When you go into fight or flight, it's not voluntary. If I were to do one of those jerk things and suddenly scream and make a thing, and you go, and then your heart rate would go up, and the blood would rush from your extremities to your core, and a whole bunch of things would happen that are not in your control. Right? You don't say, okay, let's go into fight or flight now. It happens. And similarly, going into fold or dissociation or playing dead, your need for oxygen, your ability to take in oxygen drops, and you become dissociated from your body. You can go numb, which is very excellent if you have just been bitten and you would otherwise be in pain. So going into a kind of shock. So you don't choose those states. Your body responds neuroceptically to all these cues, including even like low frequency or high frequency sounds you can't even necessarily hear or detect. So here's the trade-off. The human ear, we are very good at picking out human voices from surroundings. Some of us lose this as we age. We went to too many Jefferson Starship concerts in our youth. This could happen, but a healthy young person in a bar or a crowded auditorium or a party can hear a person talking next to them. They can pick out the sound of the human voice, and that's those middle ear muscles that tighten up the eardrum. The low frequency is filtered out to a great extent, so we focus on the social engagement of another human voice. Now, when we are under threat, when our neurology tells us there is danger, those muscles relax, the eardrum becomes very open and expansive, and it lets in low frequency sound, and it's much harder to hear human voice. That's when we are unsafe. And so safety and unsafety is not something that we choose and assess rationally. Being safe is something that our neurology will determine, and it's based on the current situation and all our past history of is a situation like this safe? You know, if someone grew up in a city and they're walking down a city street, they might interpret it as completely safe, whereas someone who grew up in the country comes to a city and could feel danger behind every corner. So it's our previous mapping of similar experiences, but it's also our upbringing from very, very young. So any sort of traumas can make it hard for us to go into social engagement. So what does this have to do with dieting, food, eating, exercise, meditation, journaling, all that stuff? Well, all those behaviors require safety. Right? To be able to sit and meditate or journal, you have to feel safe. You're not going to sit and meditate if you hear the creak, the snapping of twigs behind you from a tiger. You're not going to delay momentary gratification for future health when you feel unsafe. You're not going to be able to make good decisions. Your body, when it feels unsafe, goes to the part of the brain that responds quickly, decisively, reactively, and not very subtly. The limbic system, the lizard part of the brain, or the lower mammalian fight or flight part of the brain, not the neocortex that can access all of the cognitive skills that are so useful when that part of the brain is turned on, online, lit up, and ready to go. So if you feel like things are your fault, realize that they're not. They are not decisions that you are making. Every one of your physical reactions is an adaptive response to what your neurology is telling you. Now, if your neurology is stuck, it's like the check engine light is always on, or even more poignantly, you have a fire alarm, a smoke detector in your kitchen that's always going off, and you believe it. So you never go into the kitchen. You keep calling the fire department. You keep running around with ABC extinguishers because you have no choice but to believe that alarm system. That's the case. When our internal alarm systems are on high alert telling us that we are not safe, we don't have access to the parts of our brains that make good decisions. So if that's you, the task is to get back to safety. The task is to learn de-stressing techniques, to learn breathing techniques, to learn social interaction techniques that can help you come back into a state of social engagement. Social engagement means with other human beings, which means we need the frontal cortex, the newest mammalian part of the brain, in order to be safe in our communities. So I'll give you one exercise right now, and that is simply paying attention to your breath. Because when we are in fight or flight, we tend to breathe quickly and shallowly. And so simply deep breath in and notice breath out. Slowly inhale and longer exhale. Even 3 or 4 of those. You can feel it changing your state from fight or flight to stay and play, as it were. Now, if you are in fold, if you are in all-out depression, you have to raise yourself up a different way. You don't want to relax because you're already relaxed, but in a bad way. In that case, you want to emphasize the inhale. Energize yourself to get yourself into a state of mobilization, even if it's fear-based, even if it's fight or flight. And from there, you can then try to work your way into social engagement. Other ways to get into social engagement involve sound, involve people's voices that are kind and soft and gentle and flowing and melodic, listening to beautiful music, beautiful music, sort of pitched at the, violin, flute, clarinet, oboe level, and not at the bassoon or the, French horn or the sousaphone. Sorry, all of you horn players. You have a definitely important role in music, just not for helping someone get out of fight or flight or fold. So when you find yourself thinking it's your fault, whatever it is, I want you to remember this talk, because simply acknowledging that this is a system that is out of your control at the moment, and that every one of your responses, every one of your binges, every one of your capitulations to a bad habit has been in that moment what your brain thought was in your best interest based on faulty neurological input, and that in order to get better results, you want to change the neurological input. All right, so I hope this is helpful. Again, if you're interested in the retreat, we'll be doing a lot of this work actually at the retreat, getting into it and imprinting different patterns into your neurology. Just email me, HJ, it's for Howard Jacobson, hj@plantyourself.com, or keep a lookout on this page, whether it's Plant Yourself or Sick to Fit or Proteinaholic, or if you're watching this on YouTube, just keep watching, and I will be announcing the web page. I'll get that up tomorrow. Why the hell not? So people can take a look, and we can get the ball rolling. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a fabulous day. See you again tomorrow.